Hi, everyone. Well, now you've heard from three of our class of 2020, we are taking this opportunity to share the story of one of our class from 2019 with you all, and that is WeWalk. So I'm now joined by Gokhan and Jean-Marc, and they're going to tell us the story of WeWalk and how they've been using innovative AI to expand and grow the impact of their organization. So first of all, Gokhan, I'm going to ask, so who are you and what is WeWalk?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Eve. So I'm Gokhan. I'm one of the co-founders of WeWALK, and I'm responsible for the growth.
And hi, everyone. I'm Jean-Marc, WeWALK's head of research and development. And WeWALK really is quite a simple device. So there are 253 million visually impaired people worldwide, and 50 million of them use a white cane. The issue is the white cane really doesn't do much but tell you what's directly in front of you. It's a useful tool, but it just doesn't cut it anymore in the 21st century. And this leads to a lot of societal disadvantage. You have 1 in 4 visually impaired people that are unemployed, and you have 1 in 10 blind people that are in employment. So these are very low numbers, as you can see, and a lot of societal disadvantage. So what we've done with WeWalk is we want to equip the ubiquitous white cane, the centuries-old white cane, with technology to give the visually impaired the confidence to go wherever they want to go. And I actually have a WeWalk with me, handily nearby. So all this does is it literally just replaces the typical handle of a standard white cane, and it puts technology at the forefront of the visually impaired person's cane. So when they're walking down the street, for instance, they can access cutting-edge accessible navigation, which we've custom designed. They can access obstacle detection. They can access a voice assistant as well with a built-in speaker and microphone. And all in all, by allowing the visually impaired person to have one hand free and one hand on the cane while focusing on where they're going, we can improve their mobility, getting them wherever they want to go safely, effectively, and independently.
Amazing. And I'm glad you had one to hand. It's almost like you've done this before. So how is it that you know Microsoft, and how have you been working with us for the last 12 months?
We first met with Microsoft Turkey while we were in our offices in one of our offices in Istanbul. So we started to work with Microsoft Turkey team, and we launched our UK office, we checked how we can be in touch with Microsoft, and we saw the announcement of the first AI for Good cohort. Actually, we didn't know what was it like, because we haven't seen an example before that. So we wondered, and we applied out of curiosity. And it happened that it was a life-changing experience for us. We found ourselves at the reactor last year, around February, I guess. For next 18 weeks, we were at the reactor, and we attended many sessions. We met with AI engineers. We attended sessions with Social Tech Trust, and along the way, we had enormous experience. And we actually, at those days, we missed that experience terribly. Because we built great connections and great friendships as well. And Jean-Marc, maybe you can share more.
Yeah, of course. So as Gokhan perfectly said, we built some really amazing connections, but we also got to explore some of the technical capabilities of WeWalk. So we actually laid out our AI roadmap thanks to the feedback and the guidance we received from Microsoft. And we have some pretty cool AI features upcoming. I mean, one of our key ones, which we find we're using in almost every one of our new applications, is we're using WeWalk's IMU sensors, the gyroscope and the accelerometer and the compass that are built in, to actually get a very unique look at how the visually impaired move on a day-to-day basis. Now, whilst this is extraordinarily useful for basic data collection, on how a visually impaired person moves and how we can improve that, we see that the applications are absolutely huge. I mean, for instance, we literally just received an Innovate UK grant of £500,000 in conjunction with Imperial College to improve WeWalk's navigation system for safety critical applications. What we found actually is using the IMU sensors, we can improve the navigation of the visually impaired person. We can provide better indoor tracking. So it's amazing how this one little aha moment where we went, what if we do this, can actually lead to a whole host of applications.
And there was an interaction as well while you were part of the cohort with Saqib, who is one of our Microsoft technologists who created the app Seeing AI. And there was definitely some interaction there on kind of this concept of partnerships and communities. Can you talk a little bit about how you were able to grow that expertise and influence and experience?
Oh, that's actually a really funny story with Saqib. So actually, it was last year. It was the equivalent of what we're doing now, but in person. So we met him after our showcase. And, we just got to talking. Obviously, we have very similar ideas for technology. We want to create visually impaired technology. Simple as that. We talked him through WeWALK, and we realized, wait a second, our visions are really aligned. So we actually ended up meeting him for lunch. We met him for lunch at our family restaurant. Completely separate to WeWALK, obviously, that business, but we still met there, and we realized, we had a really great personal connection, and it really inspired us for the future of WeWALK. We realized that with camera integrations where our ultrasonic sensor would be, we can deliver some pretty exceptional features. So we're now actively exploring those options. And of course, we built a long-lasting relationship. I mean, right after we ended up having lunch, I remember we had a discussion about music. 15 minutes later, Saqib's at my house listening to headphones and going, listening to different tracks. How did that happen from a Microsoft event? I don't know, but either way, it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And how many users or customers do you have of WeWALK now? How has the business grown over the last 12 months?
So it's growing quite well. And so far we have 1,200 users around the world from 27 different countries. And people are actively using, sharing their feedback, and we are constantly improving new features into our app. And one of the latest features is our integration with Azure Maps, for example. Nowadays, we can provide public transportation services for over 1,500 cities. And we are also discussing with Azure Maps team in conjunction with the John Mark's recent saying about the Innovate UK project. So nowadays, we are discussing Shish from Azure Maps team, and as well as Megan from Microsoft US. And we are discussing to integrating some indoor navigation features together in future. So hopefully we will be using additional Azure Maps features for WeWALK, and it will enable us to both, in addition to our public transportation services, it will enable us to provide some indoor mapping solutions, and as well as some additional whereby features. For example, when you check from the WeWALK, you can look for the nearest coffee places or restaurants. So many different sort of things could be able to, thanks to Azure Maps, will be able to use by our user base.
And what I think is interesting about this is that innovation in the accessibility space, or AI specifically in the accessibility space, it isn't about philanthropy. It's about building a successful, impactful business. And to do that, you do need commercial acumen. So how have you all been addressing that? Being a business that's built for social purpose, but also ensuring you're able to build a successful business.
So we start the importance of it during the sessions that we attended during the first cohort. So we built that strategy, how to make raise an investment round, and with the learnings that we had. So fortunately, we closed a seed round very recently, a couple of weeks ago. So we raised 600,000 pounds, and nowadays we are with that help is funding. We are growing our team and start to work on the WeWALK version 2. Hopefully, with the feedback that we are gathering from the community, we would be able to provide a much more unique experience to our users.
And it all stems from that one point, which was the beginning of our AI for Good cohort participation. And it's amazing when you look back at the journey, because from that, from establishing our technical roadmap, from establishing our business roadmap, we went on to receiving several awards. We were very, very lucky and fortunate to receive one of Time's Best Inventions of 2019. With that, we got a lot of international travel as well. So Gokhan and myself, before the lockdown, We were in Abu Dhabi for the Tech Innovation Pioneer Summit, where we received an award there as well. We had our Edison Gold Award as well. So it all almost comes from one point of innovation, from one desire to do all of this, that such a long-winded and big journey can come out of it. So yeah.
And you mentioned there about kind of before lockdown, and I think we're all aware that COVID-19 has affected society and different parts of society in many different ways. And can you talk to us about what your thinking has been here and what the community, what your WeWALK community, what the blind community are saying to you at the moment?
So this is actually a very, very interesting question, especially in the context of visual impairment, for two reasons. Number one, our company literally is called WeWALK. I mean, we're trying to get people out of the house, trying to get visually impaired people who typically would not be exploring their cities to go out and explore and get to destinations. So obviously that's an immediate impact on us. But of course, we're taking this time to put our head into the ground and to start working on our app development. So we're doing a lot of work with our technical innovation, looking at our roadmap, how we can deliver a bunch of new features like our new navigation interface as soon as lockdown ends. So we're still ready. We're still working, basically. But the other interesting consideration is more personal to the visually impaired community. So, of course, WeWALK has an interesting niche now. So previously, physical guidance, grabbing onto someone's shoulder, for instance, was a very key coping mechanism for visually impaired people in the world. I mean, I typically, when I'm walking around, as you saw in previous Microsoft Reactor, I typically would walk around holding onto Gokhan because it's just faster than using a cane, having sighted assistance. But given what's happening with COVID, given that physical contact really is no longer an option, we need to find different mechanisms to get people out there confidently without having to rely on others. So that almost puts WeWALK into a very interesting position, because that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people out there now, when lockdown ends, to explore with confidence, to explore independently, and to not have that feeling of hesitation of, what if I need to go out and actually hold on to someone and risk my life, literally. So yeah, it's obviously been a challenge. I really hope this ends as soon as possible, as I'm sure we all do. But we're definitely still working hard to it. I just wish the visually impaired community the best of confidence, and that we'll all get through this.
Absolutely. And what better way to end, but also just to add, if anyone wanted to learn more about WeWALK, where would you send them other than a quick Bing and or Google search? Where would you want them to go and learn more about what you're doing?
I would say we've got our support email on our website. Please do not hesitate to send over absolutely any questions. A lot of the time, it's either myself or Gokhan, or we're a very small team, so we all end up looking at your questions. So no questions ever too big or too small. We just want people to be comfortable with the idea that technology can help you be independent, and that's what we're trying to do.
Brilliant. That's really great, team. Thank you so much for your time today and for joining us. We really appreciate it. So now let's hear from the rest of our cohort.